Step number 1 to getting started with manufacturing apparel in Vietnam is to fill in your quantity breakdown list. When you first interact with a factory, what do you think is the most important topic to discuss? Is it design, price, or quantity? So again, my question for you is, what's more important, design, price, or quantity? What should you discuss first when you first meet an apparel manufacturing factory in Vietnam? Most of my clients want to discuss their garment design. They want the factory to confirm that the factory can produce their design. Factories, on the other hand, want to discuss quantities. Why is that? If your quantities are high enough, the factory will figure out how to make your design. So before you reach out to a factory, prepare your quantity breakdown list. I call it the QBL. A QBL shows the factory the quantities per style, per fabric, per color. A QBL gives the factory the big picture view of how easy or complicated your order will be. A QBL gives the factory a clear visual of the business that you bring to the table. Their priority is profitability. Once they can smell the money, they will jump through hoops to get your design done right. Study this QBL with me from left to right. Notice the description and style number column. Choose names for your different styles just for the sake of ease of communication, and try not to use numbers. Notice the fabric description column. So this just helps get the big picture of how many different fabrics there are and which styles use the same fabric. Notice the fabric color column. Same thing. It just gives the factory the big picture as to how many colors there are in total and which styles use the same color. Notice the artwork description column. So if you've got embroideries or prints or some other type of embellishment, then list it here to help the factory understand the MOQs per print or accessory. Notice the sizing breakdown columns. This is here just for additional information. You can have any size breakdown you want, but it's just good to have it all in one place. Notice the total pieces column, which is probably the most important because it's those are the numbers that the factory will look at. And then finally the HS code, which is just added beneficial information as well as all the information at the bottom. So let's go over it in more detail. A QBL has many uses. You can use it as your quantity per style, per fabric, per color, per artwork quantity breakdown list. Think of it as your wish list or your preferred purchase order request. You can use it to project how much profit you will make and how much profit the factory will make. The factory will use it to project how complicated your order is or is not. The factory can use it to predict if you will meet the fabric MOQ or the fabric minimum color quantity MCQ, the printing MOQ, and the sewing MOQ. If this quantity breakdown list does not make sense, then don't panic. Pause the video, study the quantity breakdown list, and you will grasp its importance. By all means, modify this list to meet your specific order scenario. Here you can focus on the pieces per fabric type. Can you see how 4 of the styles use the same fabric? Number 2, 3, 5, and 6 use 100% cotton, PK 190 GSM. But number 1 and number 4 are using recycled poly, interlock 180 GSM. So number 1 and 4 will be combined to know if you can meet the fabric MOQ, and numbers 2, 3, 5, and 6 will be combined to know if you can meet the fabric MOQ for the cotton fabric. Here you can see the quantity breakdown by Pantone color. Even though number 1 and 2 have the same color, the fabric will still be dyed separately because the dye chemicals used for polyester are different than cotton. So do you see how the fabric color combines with the fabric description to understand the simplicity or complexity of completing this order? Again, recycled polyester uses different dyeing chemicals than 100% cotton. So even though the color is the same, they'll have to be dyed separately. And the factory will recognize this right away to understand the complexity of this order. Here you can see the quantity per print. There are just 2 prints, so it seems easy. Mickey Mouse has a total of 975 prints, and Minnie Mouse has a total of 975 prints. Seems simple, right? Well, from an MOQ perspective, the screen printing MOQ is usually around 1,000, so meeting the printing MOQ should be okay. But again, comparing the artwork description to the fabric description and thinking about how the dye chemicals will react with the polyester versus the dye chemicals that will react with the cotton, they're different. The dyeing chemicals that you have to use for, not dyeing, but screen printing, right? Screen printing also uses chemicals. And the chemicals that you use when doing screen printing on polyester are different than the chemicals that you use when doing screen printing on cotton. So it's not as simple as it might seem. But this quantity breakdown list shows it clearly so the factory can understand exactly what they're expected to do and how complex it will be. Here you see the size breakdown. You can have any size breakdown you want. There is no minimum for quantity per size. Size breakdown usually follows a bell curve, meaning that L gets the most, and then the quantities decrease equally on both sides of L, or sometimes M for medium. If you know your size breakdown, then put it in the QBL, just to show that you are professional and prepared. Add as much additional information as you can to alert the factory of any special conditions you need. So things like delivery date, preferred payment terms, destination, country import, and any notes that you want to add. And if you're not sure, just put in a question mark or write in, to be determined, or need factory's recommendation. So can you see how having this all ready can facilitate a very good first meeting? The HS code is used by the customs and border protection agencies around the world to determine the amount of import tax you need to pay. If you don't know it, then contact a freight forwarding company or a customs broker to find out. You can ask the factory for their opinion, but you still need to confirm it yourself. If you're not sure what the HS codes are, then Google, what are HS codes? I cover HS codes later in this course. You can also just leave it blank and put a question mark or put TBD, to be determined. I can't stress enough the importance of a QBL for both you and the factory. It is packed full of valuable information. The more information you have, the easier it is for a factory to decide if they want to work with you or not. If they refuse you, then ask them what changes to the QBL can you make so that they feel happy to accept your order. If your quantities are below their MOQs and MCQs, then the next logical question will be, okay, how high do I have to go so that we can both earn a profit and execute this order? Getting to this point in the conversation during your first interaction with the factory is the holy grail. Clients often tell me, Chris, I need to know the price before I can tell you my quantities. This is a rookie belief. This is a classic, I am fresh off the plane response. Seasoned professionals know their target price, as we discussed in the previous manufacturing math lesson. Seasoned professionals know their quantities as well. Write down what quantities you wish for to appear professional and go from there. Fill in your quantity breakdown list as best you can, given the information you have at this moment. If you don't give your desired quantities because you want to know the price first, the factory is going to tell you, we can't give you a price until you tell us the quantity. It's a dead-end tactic, and they are right. The manufacturing cost of 50 pieces is very different than 5,000 pieces. So don't get caught in this trap. Be proactive and give the factory as much information as you can by filling in the quantity breakdown list from the get-go. When you meet the factory for the first time, have your QBL ready. If you show up with no detailed information and ask for answers, it's like walking up to Starbucks cashier and not knowing what you want. The factory will smile at you and be thinking, okay, when you have all the exact details of what you want and how many you want, come and visit us again. Filling in the QBL helps everyone. It helps you and your team have clarity on your objectives. It helps the factory understand what you need produced and how simple or complicated your order will be. Factories want your business, but only if it makes business sense. They need accurate data to make an accurate assessment. In the next lesson, we will discuss step number 2 to getting started with manufacturing apparel in Vietnam, which is to make your tech packs. Hi, thanks for listening to the end. Can you see how producing your product in Vietnam will grow your business? Are you ready to grow? When is a good time to visit Vietnamese factories to get price quotes and samples? Contact us at vietnamfactorytours.com for more information about our consulting, factory introductions, and tours. Hire us to get you inside and find the right factory fast. Thanks for listening and have a great day. Remember, thoughts are things. Where there's a will, there's a way. Welcome to Vietnam.